I didn't think much of it when I bought the doll. It was sitting on a cluttered shelf at a roadside antique stall, the kind you pass 100 times without noticing. Porcelain face, faint cracks along the cheeks, eyes too glossy to look natural. The vendor said it came from an estate clearance out past the old pine roads. I wasn't even planning to stop that day, but something about it felt specific, like it had already been chosen. I set it on my dashboard mostly as a joke. A creepy mascot for long drives, something to film maybe. People like unsettling things, especially when they look harmless at first. I mounted a dash cam that same night, angled perfectly to catch both the road and the doll. The first time it moved, I told myself it was the road. Playback said otherwise. Frame by frame, the footage shows the exact moment. I'm driving straight, no turns, no sudden stops. The trees line both sides of the highway in a dense black wall. Then the doll's head jerks, not smoothly, not gradually. It snaps one precise mechanical motion until it's facing completely sideways, directly toward the woods, a full 180 degrees. I remember laughing when I reviewed it the first time. Nervous, but still laughing. I reached over in the video and turned its head back toward the windshield. It resisted more than I expected, like the joint had tightened. But it moved. 10 seconds later, it snapped back. Same direction, same angle. Always toward the woods. I tested it again while driving. This time I kept one hand on the wheel and forced the doll's head forward with the other. The resistance was worse. It didn't feel like plastic or porcelain anymore. It felt anchored, like I was trying to twist something that didn't want to be turned because it wasn't meant to move at all. I let go. It snapped back so fast I heard a faint crack. That was the moment I stopped laughing. I knew what people would say, so I ran the tests. Pulled over, did a full sweep of the car with a digital Gauss meter. I even recorded it. No magnetic anomalies. No hidden electronics. The reading stayed flat the entire time, even when I held the meter inches from the doll's base. Still, the head never moved unless the car was pointed away from the woods. I drove in circles that night, testing angles. Every time the car rotated, the doll corrected itself, always recalibrating, always finding that same invisible point somewhere deep past the tree line. It wasn't random. It was tracking something, or trying to align with it. The ticking started 2 days later. At first, it blended into the background noise of the car, a faint, irregular click. I thought it was the dashboard, maybe something loose behind the panels. But the sound wasn't consistent like a mechanical fault. It had rhythm uneven, erratic, like it was trying to find a pattern but failing. I recorded it overnight. When I played it back with headphones, my chest tightened. It wasn't a tick. It was too organic, too layered. It sounded like a heartbeat, fast, panicked, out of sync. And it was getting faster. I decided to tear into the dashboard. If something was causing this, I needed to see it. I filmed the entire process, removed the paneling piece by piece until I exposed the hollow space beneath where the doll sat. There was nothing there. No wires, no devices, just empty space. But the sound got louder the closer I moved to that spot. I pressed my ear near the cavity. The ticking surged, accelerating so rapidly it blurred into a vibrating hum before dropping back down into that frantic, uneven rhythm, like it was reacting to me. That's when I checked the GPS logs. I overlaid the timestamps from the audio recordings with my driving routes. The pattern was immediate. The ticking intensified every time I passed a certain stretch of road, the same stretch where I'd found the doll. I plotted the direction the doll always faced and extended that line outward on a digital map. Every instance converged, same bearing, same endpoint, a single coordinate deep within the forest. I zoomed in. There was nothing marked there. No trails, no structures, just dense pine coverage and a small clearing barely visible through satellite imagery. I searched local records tied to the area. That's when I found the case. Missing person. female, early 20s, last seen hitchhiking along the same road. Her belongings were discovered weeks later in a clearing about 50 yards into the woods. Among them, clothing, a broken compact mirror, and a porcelain doll. No body was ever recovered. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I went back. The GPS started drifting before I even reached the turnoff. Coordinates jittered, recalculating every few seconds. The closer I got, the worse it became. Eventually, it just froze entirely, stuck between two incorrect positions. The doll didn't hesitate. It stayed locked on the same direction, unwavering. The ticking grew louder, faster. By the time I reached the edge of the forest, it was unbearable. Not just loud dense. Like the air inside the car had thickened with sound, the rhythm had completely broken down into a continuous, high-frequency drone that pressed against my skull. I stopped the car. The moment the engine died, the sound peaked. Then, silence. Total, absolute silence. Even the forest felt muted. No wind, no insects, nothing. I looked at the doll. Its glass eyes had changed. A thin layer of condensation clouded the inside, like breath against cold glass. The rest of the car was dry. The air was still. Only the doll had fogged over. I opened the door. The outside air felt wrong. Too still. Too heavy. I took the doll with me. The moment I stepped away from the car, its head stopped moving. Completely still for the first time since I'd found it, I followed the direction it had been pointing. 50 yards isn't far until you're walking through dense brush with no path. Every step felt like I was pushing deeper into something that didn't want to be disturbed. Then I saw it, the clearing. It matched the satellite image perfectly, a small, unnatural gap in the trees where the ground flattened and the undergrowth thinned out. I stepped into it. The silence deepened. I don't know how to describe it properly. It wasn't just the absence of sound. It felt synchronized. Like everything, my breathing, my heartbeat, the faint ringing in my ears had aligned into one single suspended moment. I looked down. There were fragments scattered in the dirt, faded fabric, rusted metal, and something white, half buried beneath a thin layer of soil. I knelt, brushed it off. Porcelain. A face. Cracked, broken, missing one eye but unmistakable. Another doll, smaller, older. I felt something shift in my hand. I looked back at the one I was holding. Its head had turned, not toward the woods, not toward the road, down, directly at the spot where the broken porcelain lay. The condensation inside its eyes thickened, forming droplets that slowly slid down the inner surface like it was crying. The silence around me collapsed, not into noise but into absence, a void where even the idea of sound felt distant. I placed the doll on the ground, right beside the broken one. The moment they touched, everything stopped. The pressure lifted, the air loosened, the forest exhaled, and for just a second I heard something, not through my ears, through the space around me, a soft, final sound. Like a breath finally released after being held for too long. When I stepped back, both dolls were still. No movement, no sound, just two pieces of porcelain resting side by side in the dirt. I left them there. I didn't take anything back with me. When I got to the car, the dash cam was still recording. I reviewed the footage later. There's a moment, right before I step out of frame into the trees, where the camera catches something behind me. Deep between the trunks, a shape. Standing still, watching. It doesn't move. It doesn't come closer. It just stands there. And then, the frame glitches. When it stabilizes, the shape is gone. I don't drive that road anymore, but sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear it. Not loud, not frantic, just a faint, steady rhythm. Slow, calm, at rest. like a heartbeat that finally found where it belongs.